Welcome to Rooster Radio, a broadcast dedicated to supporting and promoting local artists in the Gaston County and surrounding areas.
How'd you even end up like landing that? Like is that a paid gig or like?
No. I have a friend that works over there, and he asked me about it. And I want to do a podcast too, because I'm a life coach as well, a wellness guide. So I was like, cool, I'll do a TV show based around music, and then I'll do a podcast based around wellness, and also I'm trying to. Like with music and with small businesses, I'm trying to promote both and support small local businesses, independent business owners, whether it's a music venue or a yoga shop or a coffee shop or whatever.
So is the podcast separate from the show?
Yeah, I'm taking it one step at a time. Like basically the show is just going to be live music for now. I want it to be like an old school it's not going to be like MTV Unplugged, obviously, but like something like one of those things you'd see back in the 80s and 90s where people are just rocking out in a space like this. And so just, to get people's name out there, get bands on there, good bands, create a cool show. And
is that a Spectrum channel or
it's Public Access 21. Yeah,
okay.
It's on Spectrum and all the...
Very cool.
Yeah, so I got to take classes to learn how to produce a show. And
do you have to do all that yourself?
They have volunteers there, but the caveat is I need someone who knows how to run like sound like you would at a show, to run it through because if you have a kick-ass band and the person who's doing all the production stuff doesn't really know how to run sound, it's going to sound like shit. And I don't want to have bands coming on there and sounding like shit. Mm. They're not going to want that either. Like they want to sound like they would if it was recorded from your, whatever you call it,
the board.
Board, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Patrick Strums. Say hey, introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody, I'm Patrick Mawn, a.k.a. Patrick Strums, here on the Rooster Podcast today.
I wondered if that was your last name.
Yeah, that's it. And I came up with Patrick Strums because when I was creating all the social media stuff, like you want to have a name that's kind of memorable. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of like trying to.
You didn't like Mawn? You didn't think Mawn was very memorable?
No, it's definitely like one that people can misspell. So when I was doing my album, the most stressful thing about it all was coming up with a moniker, like a stage name.
Yeah.
And so I landed on Patrick Strums, but then that's my name on platforms, but I go by Patrick Mawn. So that was okay until I started like touring and booking shows and stuff, and then people are putting me out there as Patrick Strums. So it's like, no, it's Patrick Mawn. Patrick Strums is just how I tell people, just go to Pat.
I think you should just run with Patrick Strums.
It's only a problem when somebody tries to write you a check, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, like the check has to be proper. I don't know. And the thing is, the guy that did my album, Shannon MacArthur, when I was telling him about the Patrick Strums thing, he's like, nah, man. He's like, fuck that. He's like, John Mayer, Dave Matthews, Jack Johnson, whoever, they don't have stage names. Be you.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll roll with that. But I already had set up on. Like Spotify, on like social media platforms, my YouTube page, everything's Patrick Strums. So, and I just use that because if I'm here on stage or something, I can just say, hey, just follow me, because people remember Patrick Strums.
Well, he named all of those guys off, but what about Elton John, Freddie Mercury? There's also a lot of dudes that are very famous with stage names. I don't see a problem with
Billy Strings.
Yeah, Billy Strings. Yeah, Patrick Strums. Strums. it's a really...
It's easy.
Clever name, yeah.
It's easy to remember. Yeah.
Easy to remember, yeah. I got no problem with it. I think it's great.
Yeah, so I guess I'm kind of in inertia with that still. But
as long as you get the name on the check right?
Exactly. As long as, if anyone wants to cut me a check for either one, I'm just trying to sell shit.
Is that Boston or Jersey I'm hearing?
Boston.
It's Boston, okay.
Yeah.
How'd you end up in Charlotte from Boston?
I was a young lost soul, and I had some family out here. My uncle had been out here for a long time, and I just got laid off, and it was about 20 years ago now, and just basically I didn't have too many possessions at the time. I just threw all my stuff in the car and headed down here to Charlotte. And it's funny because the vision I had in my head of what this area was of Charlotte was like real country and like lots of rolling hills and stuff. I thought I was gonna like.
That's more Virginia.
Yeah. I thought I was gonna wind up in a little farmhouse, get a little Southern belle who'd cure me of my wicked ways, and just kind of live like Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven. Just get that woman that cures me of my wicked ways. And none of that was true, and none of it happened the way I had it in my head, and that's all a good thing. So
when you first moved down here, were you already doing the music thing?
No, man. And see, that's the thing. It's like I'm an old man, but I'm really young in the music game, and music's always been in my heart. Like I was writing songs when I was like 7 years old, and I remember the thing that really told me I wanted to be a rock star, so to speak, was I saw the movie La Bamba, if you remember that, about Richie Valens. And that album, and like Los Lobos did most of the songs on it, and just kicked ass, and I was like, I want to do that. And I got my first guitar at 10 years old, and then I started playing it, and when you play guitar when you're new, it really hurts your hands. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, that hurts. I quit. And it's just something I always kicked around for years, and I've always loved music, but I never believed it was something I could do with my life. So it just it sat on the shelf, and like I said, I mean, I'm a wellness coach, and I've helped other people. I've been.
Is that what you do for a living?
It's something I do, and I put it on hold to focus on this because I was a job coach and an employment coach for years, and doing this stuff on my own, helping people find their true passions and their dreams and what they should be doing in life. And meanwhile, what I should have been doing my whole life is sitting right here,
taking your own advice.
Exactly. Yeah. So and I didn't really get into this till the last couple of years. And I started playing at open mics around town. And I started an open mic about 10, 12 years ago at Muggs Coffee in Charlotte. And what I wanted was, when I'd go to open mics for like poetry and music and stuff like that, there were one or two extremes. They were either like super intimidating and very professional, or like super apathetic and like, yeah. So I wanted something in between, and I also wanted it to be where everyone's equal, because I'd be at these open mics, and like a big poet or a big music act would come in, and they'd put them right up on stage, and they'd get to dominate. And I'm like, no, this is for people that like.
Is this really how other people run their open mics?
This is how some of them were. Yeah, I'm not gonna name any names.
I was about to say, am I really going to promote your open micing? I feel like every time I'm on, I say something about the open mics.
Yeah, I mean,
have you been to one of ours here?
Yeah.
I came to one. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to step in right now and be like, ours is nothing like that. Yeah. Like ours is completely democratic. There's a sign up sheet. Mm-hmm. I don't put it out till 6:30. Because when I first started the open mic, people were coming in, like right when we opened the doors, signing up, and then they would disappear and come back at their time.
Right.
And I'm like, well, fuck that. We're not going to do that anymore. So I put it out at 6:30, and it's the first come, first served. You get here at 6:30, you can pick your time, and as the slots fill up, the later you get here, the less likely you are to get the spot you want. Mm-hmm. And if somebody signs up and leaves, I take them off the list.
Yep.
And then they get, if they come back, they can wait till the end of the night. But everyone's equal at our open
and everybody's mic. all the audience is always involved, and everybody's excited about people getting up there, and everybody claps and cheers after. Even if they're not great. We
encourage collaboration too. Like people will come in by themselves with just their guitar, and they'll be like, can you play bass? Do you want to play drums? We've got a couple drummers that come here. They'll bring their sticks, and they'll hang out, and they'll wait for someone to need a drummer, and they'll jump right up there.
I love that. It's people that are enthusiastic and wanting to do it, and I came to your open mic, and I saw that support, and that's what people like. That's what I needed when I was starting out, a supportive environment, like to be in front of a bunch of people and get that rush, and to feel that love, and like, hey, we got your back. and to not feel like it's finicky. And so that's what I created.
So you were seeing these open mics with these weird energies, and you were like, "Let me try it."
They were kind of one extreme or the other. Like they were very intimidating, and also, I kind of started off like as a poet and doing theater and stuff like that. Okay. And more so in the poetry world, I think, but both, where I'd see, like even once I started my open mic, the policy was you get 2 songs or 5 minutes, whichever comes first. 2 poems or 2 things or 5 minutes, and that was it across the board. And I would see these people that were like kind of known names that would come walking in like 5 or 10 minutes before the thing ended, and they'd think they could just go right up, and I'd say, no, sorry, we're full. And they'd be like, well, I'm so-and-so. And I'd say, I'm sorry, we're full.
Yeah.
Come back next time, because you weren't here to support the whole thing. And just because you're so-and-so doesn't mean you get to just march right up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of...
how do you say this without coming off like a jerk, right? It's like, if you're not going to be here and support, we've got some people that like to show up late and they like to go up late.
Yeah. Or it's on a Wednesday. People work.
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
No, I totally get it.
But we're always like, I prioritize people. I'll just put this out there right now for people that want to book a show here. It's like I prioritize our open mic community when I book shows. Like if there's an opening slot that needs to be filled, if I'm booking a show with somebody and they don't have a full bill, they've got 2 bands that they want to bring here, and I'm like, well, I'm always 100% of the time I look to my open mic crowd first, and they're going to get priority to open shows and get opportunities on our stage because they're here every week supporting the plays. And I've gotten emails from bands that that might have been confounded with the fact that I didn't jump right on booking a show with them, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. I've never heard of you. And I try to toe that line carefully. I try not to be an asshole.
Yeah.
But ego doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
And the open mic people can come through. They can perform, they can do their thing. Yeah. If somebody else is coming in like, oh, book me, you don't know.
Yeah. That was literally from the open mic I had was like, check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
Like we are all equal, and that that's.
Are you still doing it?
No, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
But back to the original question was like, that's how I got my stuff, and I kind of created it for other people, but for people like me who didn't want one of those extremes, and I wanted to have a safe, supportive, a good vibe. And I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. If you build it and promote it, they will come. Just like you're creating a vibe here, and you have your principles and the stuff you're talking about, and that's why I was drawn to here to begin with. I heard a lot of good things about that. So
how did you hear about us?
I just heard people talking about it. Like I just heard, oh yeah, there's this new place called the Rooster, and I checked you guys out on social media, and I saw not just a music venue, but I just saw some of your posts and things you're doing in the community, the open mic and all that. And like I told you, it's just hard for me to get out here for an open mic because it's far away, and I was working nights at the time doing some things, and but I like what you're doing to support the community, because that's what I'm trying to do currently is build a community of artists and venues and just put on kick-ass shows that are collaborative. People like me that aren't at a level, like nobody knows who I am right now. I'm still trying to get my name out there. So like when you said, hey, I'll give you the show on February 16th, I had to put my ego aside and know that I'm not the guy who can be the headliner.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about draw and stuff. I mean, that's a factor that goes into my decision making is, can you get people to come out? I mean, look, most of our bigger audiences are coming from Charlotte to Gastonia. Like we're still not God, I'm gonna catch shit for this. Like we're still training Gastonia people like how this works, right? Like people still are a little confused by how this whole thing works that we're doing. We don't have pool tables. We don't have $2 beers. We don't have chicken wings and burgers, right? So like,
most places they're used to a bar that sometimes has music, and this is a music venue that has a bar.
It's like we're not really a bar first, but the bar is what keeps the doors open. It's like we're in this weird in between space, and like we've had people will come to our door and like not come in because they don't want to pay a cover. Right. fine with me. You know, if that's how you want to be, but you're missing out on something special.
Because they'll go down the road and spend $100 on.
Yeah,
you know,
they'll spend more for their liquor somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's the trade off here. But we talked about that when we talked about booking a show here. Is like an ability to draw people, and I think you did a fantastic job of putting together a bill of artists that we should have a decent crowd here for that show. Bringing in True Lilith and Oh You Pretty Things is one of my favorite bands out here. I love that band. Sitting with True Lilith, they're a lot of fun.
They're a great spooky band. I love them, dude.
Yeah, and then of course Pete from Home for the Day. Shout out Pete. Yeah. We love Pete here. Pete's one of the promoters for the Brewstock Festival. He's one of the guys that puts that whole thing together. So we love Pete. Showed up to an open mic. And check this out. Pete lives like an hour and 15 minutes away, and he'll come to our open mic from time to time just to get in front of people and play a song. That means so much to me when people do that. It really does. A lot of our we have like this weird cycle with open mic. Like we'll have one dud about every 5 or 6 weeks where, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 people show up. We're done by 11. Everyone goes home. But for the most part, we've got like the every weekers, we got the every other weekers, and we got the once a monthers, right? That's kind of like the cycle that we see. And a lot of the every other weekers and the once a monthers are coming from Charlotte, and it's because of schedules. People work, they got gigs, some of them gig and stuff. And there's a couple that I haven't seen in a while, but when they come back, it'll be like they never left. That kind of thing.
Well, you got your name's getting out there, because even promoting the show and telling people, be like, oh yeah, they say that I've heard good things. I'll be there. I'll come. I've been wanting to check that out. So. That show on the 16th, there should be some more people coming to check it out for the first time, and that's the law of attraction thing. And I understand what you're saying, and that I want to put on a show, like a great show, not like a local bar band show. I want it to be kick-ass and more diverse and eclectic. That's kind of what I'm focusing on, is putting together shows they're not just like one genre where it's like, some people, that's what they want. They want to go see just a hard rock show and bang their head for 3 hours, and that's cool.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there are also, the thing I'm seeing in music now, and both in live stuff and recording and stuff, like I've been doing a lot of interviews with my album, and people ask, well, it's kind of all over the map. It's kind of hard rock, indie folk. Like, how do you maintain a cohesive identity? And I'm like, how many artists can I roll off throughout the years that are experimental? I think everything's becoming so streamlined now, and I think that is a discredit to fans and their palate taste. I mean, when I talk to people, when I tell people what I'm trying to do, put together these shows, both bands, venues, and fans are like, hell yeah, that sounds really cool.
Because you're being you, and if at the time you feel like playing this type of music, and at this time you feel like playing this type of music, and then you
to me it's all about, for me as an artist, it's all, if I'm not authentic, I have nothing. And I just love music all over the place. I mean, I like hard rock, I like hip hop, I like classical music, I like folk, and I like artists that kind of reflect that too. I did an interview recently, and it's like, look at the Beatles, album to album and song to song even. You got the White Album. 1 second you got Revolution and Helter Skelter drilling your eardrums, and then you've got Mother Nature's Son, and you've got classical music, or even the Beastie Boys. They got a lot of hip hop, but they do a lot of hard rock and stuff like that. So, I guess if it's really extremes, that's not gonna work in a show. Yeah. But if you have in here, and you can play around with a lot of different stuff.
Well, we're kind of living in a time, up until the internet got in front of everybody, you were kind of at the, you got what the radio gave you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that was it. So naturally, I've talked about this before on the show about how the 90s was this explosion of creativity. And the radio was kind of forced to start playing all this different stuff. And then the internet came along, and now everybody's got all these different tastes. You find out as you grow and your taste and your develop, you're like, I like this, but I like this too, and I like this too, and I like this too. And now we're at a point where like the internet exists. You can get anything you want, anytime you want, in terms of art. And it's like, of course, people are going to have eclectic taste and eclectic sounds. Of course, people are going to be different from song to song because we're consuming so many different types of sounds. I think it's wonderful. It can get boring if every song sounds the same.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's it.
It can get really boring, but I love to be surprised.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. It's like, as a singer songwriter, still trying, and it's kind of like my friend was saying the other day. Is like, I'm kind of a singer songwriter by necessity because I'm working with what I got, which is me. So I'm looking at putting a band together and doing a lot of expansive stuff, and I really want to broaden my horizons. But I'm only a singer songwriter in that category, but my stuff is kind of all over the place, and it's like, yeah, maybe like a show of a few hours of just people and their guitar, it can get stale.
But that's also great for certain spots, right?
Yeah.
Like there's like just here in downtown Gastonia, we have the Cigar Lounge, we have the Poorhouse. It's kind of like a more upscale lounge, and those types of performances are perfect for that setting. Right, but like here, you recognized here you need a bigger show. Like, and we've done shows with like solo acoustic acts, and they're fun. They go well, but there's a big stage. There's a lot of space on that stage, and only the pros can go out there by themselves and really rock that stage. You know what I mean?
Part of that is I found. And I'm looking at other things like loops and bringing other things in there, and again, other artists, which I have done some of. But it's making it interesting, like telling great stories. Like the thing I hang my hat on is my songs and my lyrics. Like I tell a great story, so I'm telling the story, but also changing the tempo. Like it's pacing and mixing it up, and not just having that same tempo.
How'd you learn how to sing? Like, did you have any formal training?
Self-taught, and that's another thing that I want to, like, I'm looking at honing my craft, taking guitar lessons, taking singing lessons, just to up my game. I feel like I'm good enough at performance level, but I want to go from good to great. So I'm self-taught, and it's just always been a natural thing. When I was a little kid, I sang in a couple of musicals. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Me and this other little kid sang. We had to say, "Why am I such a misfit?" And so it was more like in musicals and theater stuff than band stuff. But I've always I was writing songs when I was a little kid about like all kinds of stuff, and I was kind of very forceful when I was a kid. Like I'd write these plays and shows, or I'd write these songs, and I had the old school Memorex cassette, and I'd be recording it on the little tape deck, and I'd have everyone singing parts. So I've kind of always had like that Brian Wilson in me of like I've always loved harmony, melodies and stuff like that, and I'd have my friends like, now you hit this you're singing here, and they don't know what the hell's going on, you know what I mean? I'm like tell them what to do. You're gonna go ooh, and you're gonna go ooh, and you're gonna go ooh, and I'm trying to like force this all together, and then finally people say, you know what, screw you, man, we're gonna go play kickball or whatever. Go to hell with your whatever this is.
So the life of an artist.
Yeah.
Are you out playing currently? Like, do you?
Yeah, I just finished up my first tour. I toured up the East Coast, and I went down south more to like Georgia, Charleston, places like that. And I'm kind of on a hiatus right now, focusing on like this show that we're doing the 16th here. I'm working on a new album, which is a concept album, and everything's changed as far as how my creative process as I become a better musician. I used to just kind of mostly. It would be the story and the lyrics, and then I'd have, a melody, and then just kind of work song by song. But now I've just been writing music. So I've got like all these songs, and I have a concept, and now I got to go back and write the lyrics, and that's a new process.
It'd be interesting to see which album you end up liking better.
It's challenging, and it's also new material because I'm evolving as an artist and also as a human being. So. Like the stuff on my first album and a lot of stuff I've been playing, some of those songs are like 20 years old.
Is a lot of your stuff made or wrote just for you, or have you wrote a lot of it to be played with a band as well?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's the weird thing. It's like my single, I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore. Like that's probably my most notable song. And, you know, it's evolved and changed so much. And that's the other thing is with the creative process, working with producers and other artists, like the vision I have in my head changes and evolves as other people put some input into it. Like that song, when I wrote it, I originally had it almost like kind of like a calypso, like Rastafarian vibe to it. And then I was working with a buddy of mine, and he's kind of turned it into more of like a pop song. And that's what it is now. And that's what fits. I want to be around people, and I want to be a person who says not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
Well, I mean, I have a similar philosophy about surrounding yourself with, people. My whole thing is surrounding myself with people that are good at what they do and that, have like an inspirational kind of work ethic. I'm good at a couple of things. Like I'm not, my man Ron here is great at editing. Shout out to the producer Ron. I got real lucky. I got real lucky with Ron because I put it out there to the college that we're open for internships if any of their students want to do internships here, and Ron was the only one that signed up to do an internship. So after a few weeks, I recognized real early on, like, this is the guy. Like he first of all, he wanted to be here. Right, like he took that step, but even during the process of the internship, I could see him, taking an interest in doing more and more. And it was like, well, let's get him in here, and he's got a great work ethic, and he's really good at what he does. Bob, Bob's a very, very intelligent person. The dude's full of facts. I'm not good at reciting facts, but I know when Bob's around, I can count on Bob to remember this thing or to figure this out. Jade, our host for our open mic. She might be the best entertainer in the Charlotte market.
Yeah.
Like how much more lucky could we be to have her? So like surrounding myself with people that are more talented than me is kind of how I see this thing working.
Yeah, like that's my philosophy too. Like I want to be the weak link, and again back like to the checking the ego thing. Like when I have a song, I want it to just be kick ass. I want it to be great. And I don't care whose idea it was in the room, like doing I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore. It was me. I did that at Catalyst Recording in Charlotte with Rob over there. He's a great producer. And my friend Derek Hines, a.k.a. DJ H for now, who's just a vastly underrated local talent, to your point, which, like, you got to build a team. That's the thing I'm realizing is, like, you have to build a team of people that are on board, who want to be there, who believe in what you're doing, and they're down for the cause. And there are degrees of that. There are people, like a Jupiter who will come and drop some stuff on my track, some wonderful things. And then there are people that are like in the whole process.
Yeah.
So like I've been building that team and having those people. And when you have those people, it's like, hey, to me, it's like we're all here to serve whatever. It's not to serve my ego. And I don't care about being like, the face and the star. I just want to put stuff out there that's authentic and that I like and that people will like. And so that's been my process. And in doing that, I got to remember, like, and there's two sides to the coin. There's being open-minded to taking suggestions and changing things up. And then there's also when you want something, you stick to your fucking guns.
Yeah.
This is how.
Yeah, there's a fine line to walk there. Like, I've always been open to suggestion with like customers and artists. People have given advice and I've taken some, and then there's others that have given advice and I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's not for me.
As a business, I mean, you're gonna get people that come up to you at that when they see, oh, you're the owner, and then they're gonna give you like their input all day. And I mean, I get that.
It's a funny. People are like, aren't you the owner? When I hear that a lot now, and don't get me wrong, I'm not bitching, but 9 times out of 10, this conversation is not going to go a way that I want it to go.
Yes. Let me tell you something.
Yeah. I get a lot of. You know what you should do.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's what. Like I'll be on stage, and people will come up on stage, and they'll say, either can you play this cover song, or this is what you should do, and it's like, no, this is like my domain. You don't come up here, and again. I got to be diplomatic and be professional and courteous.
The biggest thing for us is karaoke, right? Like a lot of people have asked about me doing karaoke, and this is something I'm just willing to stick to my guns on, is that stage out there is not for just anybody, right? Like this is a philosophical thing for me. You know, that stage is for professionals.
Or people trying to
better
themselves, to pursue this.
People that are on a track.
Yeah.
And first of all, if you want karaoke, there's thousands places you can go and do karaoke. Yeah. This place is for artists. I built this. It's in our fucking mission statement on the homepage of our website. I built this place for the artist. Mm-hmm. And karaoke cheapens. It waters down our mission. And I don't hate karaoke. I like to go to karaoke. When we get out of here on a Friday, on a Friday night, and if I get out of here and it's not late as shit, I'll go up to Citycade because they've got karaoke. Mm-hmm. I like karaoke.
Well, it's a pecking order. It's like you start off. You got to start somewhere. Like, I started at a small open mic, and then karaoke. That was really when I used to sing. Like, I would have to get a few beers in me.
Liquid courage.
Yeah, liquid courage.
A good example of that is Anna King, right? Like, the only time I had ever seen her sing was at karaoke around town and stuff like that. Then she started coming here to open mics and singing. And now she's doing that competition in Nashville.
Yeah, Tennessee's Next Country Star.
Yeah,
By the time this airs, that might be over, but this is a girl who was just doing karaoke and has, over the last year and a half,
something like that,
she's stepped her game up. She's come to these open mics. She performs at open mics, and it helped give her the courage to go to this competition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she made it to the top 12.
That's awesome.
And by the time this airs, we'll know what the outcome was, but right now we don't know. Yeah, if she may be going on to the next round, which would give her the opportunity to perform at Old Red.
Awesome.
And
I love hearing stories like that. That's what I mean. Like you start off somewhere, and that back to that supportive environment when you have people that are encouraging you and also giving you authentic feedback, like not fluff. Like, hey, you're good, and once you have that belief in yourself, like that, that's like Neo in the Matrix, and that's been kind of my experience when I come to this conclusion. Like, hey, you know what? Like, I've got something here. Like, I have something here. Let me do something with it.
Yeah.
And that's where the work comes in. Like, it's like going from good to great. You have to put the work in, not only with the art, but it's also about marketing, promoting, and getting your stuff out there.
Yeah, and you have to have, like you said, you surround yourself with the people that have the answers that you don't have. So you can ask the questions. It's a safe place to be wrong, to fuck up, and have people say in a very encouraging way, like, you did this part wrong. If you did it like this, it might help out. Try this kind of thing,
Yeah, and that's where it's like, to tie it all together, it's like, and that's not usually the person that says, hey, this is what you need to do, like the Joe off the street, but it's like, sometimes it can be, but it's like, that's where the people that have the know-how, that are in whatever like industry you're in, whether it's as a venue owner, an artist, own a coffee shop, and say, hey, if you want to maybe try this, and then like someone that has experience with that and has some.
I try really, really hard not to do, because it annoys me. When people do that to me, like, what you should do. I try my best not to like give artists feedback that's just my opinion, right? But then sometimes people come to the bar and they're like, "What did you think?" Or people will ask a lot, and I try my best.
I'll give you an example. Like a song that I'll be playing here on the 16th. I have a song called "Not Today," and when I wrote it, it's like a hard, scathing, fast, like screw you song towards an ex. And when I was on tour, I played it at a place called DIY in Flemington, New Jersey. And there was a woman there, Roya, who has been in the music industry for a long time. And I played it, and it was really fast. And then after the show, she's like, that song you were playing, she said, how about you slow it way the fuck down? Like, make it like a dirge. And I said, no, but it's a fast, scathing song. And she said, yeah, but those lyrics are, like, those words are so powerful.
They need time to breathe.
Slow it down, emphasize it, and it just changed everything. And we had this amazing experience. Like, she got on the piano and was playing it, and we were working it. And so not only, like, and not just that song, but it also showed me, like, let me go back and look at some other stuff that maybe I can slow way down or speed up or just play with. But that's an example of someone who knows what they're doing and cared enough to take the time.
Right. So that's the point I was getting at is I'm not a professional musician, so I don't feel comfortable giving everybody feedback on their performance and their stuff. But sometimes people will push me and they want an opinion. And when they do, I give them my honest opinion. Mm-hmm. There was this one band that came and did open mic, and they were good. They sounded really good. But there was one guy on stage that had all the energy, and the rest of them were just kind of there. Mm-hmm. And he really wanted some feedback, and I was like, well, you sound great, but they need to move. Yeah. Your singer is really good, but she doesn't seem to know it. You know what I mean? Like confidence. That's what they were lacking in their performance. And my hope is that when we see them again, they will have taken that advice and do a better performance because they're good. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never want to discourage somebody, but if you really want me to, critique your performance, I will. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I don't want people to feel like I'm telling them what they should do. I've long time, I've been into music for a very long time, and I've listened to a lot of interviews, read a lot of stuff, and one of the things that artists have to have is a thick skin. Oh yeah. Like if you want to succeed as a performer, you need to give people what they want. So that means you have to listen to the feedback they give you. Yeah. And I try to kind of just keep it respectful in that air when I do give feedback.
Well, and the thing is, you can give feedback. Everything you just said is on point. Like, you have to have a thick skin, and I have to be receptive to constructive criticism. And that's the thing. It's like you can do that in a healthy way. Like, I think it's the greatest sign of respect, again, to tell me what I need to hear, not to just say, "Oh, that was great." Yeah. Now that doesn't mean like everything has to be nitpicked and scrutinized, but if it's authentic, and especially if someone's seeking it out, if
you're literally putting a piece of yourself into the universe, and if somebody comes back at you in a shitty way, that's like they're attacking you.
Yeah, that's what I wish more people, like consumers of art, I wish more consumers of art understood or had that perspective to know that this person is trying something. They're putting themselves out there. Yeah. To just have like a knee-jerk shitty reaction because you didn't like it.
It's not your style.
It's not your style. Yeah. You have your right to that opinion. Yeah. But you also have the right to be an asshole. But should you be? Right. Like maybe give somebody a chance to develop that thing. It's like when a comedian's working out new material. It's like you can tell that they're like figuring something out here. It's like, let it breathe. Don't be so quick to judge because something great could come of it. And it's the same thing. That's the whole purpose of open mic is to get up there and fuck around and see what
and to gain the confidence, because like we were talking about before about the comfort zone, right? When you step outside of your comfort zone and you get used to it, then suddenly that's not outside your comfort. You're comfortable with that. Then you need to push yourself further to become outside of a comfort zone again, and that's how you grow.
And for me, it's really fun to watch the process, to see these artists develop and figure stuff out and play it this way and then try it this way and that way, and like that's for me, that's the fun part for me as a consumer. A lot of people, most people, they just want to see the finished product. Yeah, that's why that's why Ticketmaster's still in business. Yeah.
No, and that's back to that evolution thing, that process. You start off at an open mic and to build your way up to that. And I also want to say, like, stand-up comedy, that is the hardest thing. To be funny for like 3 minutes, to write funny material, that is like the hardest thing to do. I just want to put that out there.
It is. I've never really done that. Task.
But just want to say that to anyone who hasn't tried it. And that's
Shout out
I don't
Trace.
do it. Yeah. But
Shane was it. They was
Shane was really funny.
Fucking funny, dude.
But that evolution process of, like, there are people like that. I was playing at open mics like 5 years ago before the pandemic, and if they saw where I am today, it's night and day. They'd be shocked. But I owe an homage to them for putting me on and for being supportive. Like, there used to be an open mic at Puckett's up in Derrida, and I used to go there all the time, and they were, very supportive, and they'd let me go up there and I'd play with other artists and stuff like that. But there was so many open mics and places that put me on, allowed me to get comfortable, get experience, do all that stuff you guys are talking about, and I don't even know if they know where I'm at now. Like, I've lost touch with some of those people, but if they saw me, they'd be like, back then I was like, oh, you have some potential, but now I'm doing it. But that's because I've taken the feedback, constructive criticism, and put the work in.
Yeah, and I think I've said this before on the show. Like, if you're not getting the reaction that you want, work harder.
That's it.
Work harder. Listen to what people are telling you. Even someone like me who's not a musician, my opinion is still valuable because I'm a consumer, right? Yeah. So, if someone's telling you something, you don't necessarily want to hear it. Try to hear what they're saying, not get mad at them for the negative, the negative feeling you get from their feedback. All right, we're gonna start running along. So I want you to first take a minute to promote the show. Look at that camera right there and tell everybody what they're in for on Friday, February 16th. Shout out to all the bands and thank you all for jumping on the bill. And then we can plug away and tell everybody where to find you.
Sure. So on February 16th, here at the Rooster in Gastonia, it's going to be a kick-ass show with Oh You Pretty Things, True Lilith, Pete from Home for the Day, and Little Old Me. We're going to be here, and I think the doors are at 6:30, right?
6.
6, okay. It's going to be a great show, fun, and come on out. I know some of you that I've talked to are coming out, but if you're just seeing and hearing about this for the first time, please come out. And the Rooster's a great spot to check out live music as well. And you're going to have a fun night, and it's going to be dope. So bring it.
Yep. And come to our open mic every Wednesday from 7 to midnight. And tell everyone we kind of talked about it in the front of the show, but just to put a bow on it, tell everyone where to find you, which platforms you're on, and we'll get out of here.
You can find me on most platforms. I am on Spotify, but I'm not really putting stuff on there. You can check me out on Bandcamp. Bandcamp is patrickmawn.bandcamp.com. My album is The Hub of Humanity. I am on Spotify. I'm on all platforms, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Instagram, Facebook, all that. It's at Patrick Strums. That's where you can find me. That's my handle.
Spell your last name.
And me, Patrick Mawn, it's like lawn with an M. It's M as in, I remember my mother would always say it when she was talking to like customer service people, like M as in Martha, A-W, N as in Nancy. So that's a homage to my mother, and that's my last name. Patrick Mawn, that's me.
Awesome. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for doing this, man.
Yeah,
I'm grateful to you. We're going to have a big time on Friday, February 16th. Get those tickets on theroostergastonia.com/events. And it's going to be a good time, man.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to do the show and to be working with you. I love the things that you guys are doing here, not just with music, but also in the community. And I'm totally down for that.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise.
Peace and love.
Peace, everybody. Thanks for watching.